For 2 weeks, the corridors of Baku's Olympic Stadium in Azerbaijan echoed with the hurried footsteps of negotiators rushing from one windowless meeting room to another as COP29 made headlines across the globe, with the core aim of getting the near 200 countries to agree on a new climate funding target that could replace the current goal of $100 billion, about 95 billion euros per year. The world now looks forward to implementation. More so, an agreement that sets a goal of at least $300 billion in climate financing per year by 2035, flowing from developed to developing countries, was reached. This financial package is intended to help developing countries tackle emissions, transitioning away from fossil fuels and adapting to a warming world. However, for a country like Nigeria, the need to address carbon emissions reduction is fundamental to a wide range of livelihoods because agricultural systems and commodities are threatened by climate change, and currently more than 70% of Nigeria's primary energy supply substantially depends on biomass. Joining us now as we review the just concluded COP29 and what is in it for Nigeria is retired Air Vice Marshal Akugbe Iyamu, retired, President, Environmental Protection and Climate Change Practitioners, former Acting Director General, National Emergency Management Agency. Good morning and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, Mero. Good morning, Dr. Abati, and good morning, Rufai. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, sir, just to review COP29, what was supposed to be a finance action deal on the climate crisis that the world faces at a time of very serious emergencies in different parts of the world, including the Pacific. The conference ended up as an opportunity for bickering, for greater division between the global north and the global south. In fact, it was not even attended by the key leaders, the guilty leaders of the world. Xi Jinping was not there. Joe Biden was not there. Out of the G7 leaders, only Keir Starmer showed up. Is there any real commitment to save this planet, which is the major objective of all these United Nations climate conferences that we keep having?
Thank you, Dr. Ruben. You see, everything there's history. If you see the UNFCCC coming back, let's go back a little. 29 December 1970, the world saw overshot. That was when the world was taking more than nature can replenish. That left the Air Summit in the Rio de Janeiro that gave birth to the UNFCCC. Thereafter, you had the Kyoto Protocol. Kyoto Protocol recognized the developed nations to contribute money to deal with the vulnerable nations. It didn't bring in the vulnerable nations at that particular time. Then fast forward back, you came to the Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement is very specific to say that, look, the world is getting warmer. And before we got here, ExxonMobil has told the world that, look, by 2000, the world is going to be warmer by 1 degree. So what do? Then the world have to come together to form these two agencies, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and United Nations Framework for Climate Change Convention. Now, coming forward, there was a lot to be on the table on COP29. It was a make or break conference of parties. Why? You have the Pacific Island being threatened with its tradition and language. You have Somalia, 8 million people, half of its population, being subjected to drought, and 1.3 million displaced. You have Tavulu putting himself on the metaverse to say that, look, if I get eliminated from the earth, at least the metaverse will be able to, people will look at it. And you have Chile getting warmer, 26 people dead and 450 people already displaced. And again, too, you have Mozambique, after Cyclone Idai, 1,000 people dead and 400,000 people displaced. So the world was waiting. The world was waiting. And what actually came out was very, very bare minimum. To say, a lot of people want to say it was a disappointment. No, I don't want to look at it. It's sustainability in action. Well, that, whatever you want to call disappointment, have created the determination to move forward. Now, the COP29 started with a lot of controversy. First of all, Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is a country that has 7 billion barrels of oil under the ground. The argument now is that why are we having countries who are very deep in oil hosting the conference of parties? They are going to hobble the outcome. But this particular one, when the soundbite was that, okay, we are going to take energy from the 2022 level to 1,500 gigawatts. And to say that we're going to refurbish 25 million power line, 25 million kilometers of power line. That sounded very nice for my country like Nigeria, who has two headwinds. One is we're going to ramp up oil production to 2.06 million per day. And we are going ahead with the compressed natural gas. I thought if we go there, we are not supposed to be in all the sidelines, all the sideline meetings. No, we go with two wish lists. We have on grid only 5 gigawatts, and we have 14 gigawatts off grid. That is being given by petrol, diesel, and everything. So we are one of the energy poverty capital of the world. What do we do? How do you help us? How do you help us? So for COP29, well, it's a case of saving it from itself, saving it from destruction. And where we are now, where do we go? Where we go now is going to be very, very important as we begin to see to how we will realize the Paris Agreement.
Thank you very much, sir, for that breakdown. I think it's really important. Now, a number of the global south, developing countries have said that the $300 billion, just as was introduced, is nowhere near sufficient for the fight against or to reduce the effect of climate change in these countries. Seeing that the wealthier countries are not willing to invest more, what can we begin to do? Because we also have a responsibility. Whether they give us money or not, the effect of climate change still affects the people. I talked about earlier on agriculture. If you look at Nigeria, for instance, some of the challenges between the farmer-herder clashes have been said to be, if you look at the remote cause, climate change, erosion of green land in some of these areas, meaning that they are migrating more to the south. So we need to fix the issues. What can countries like Nigeria and other developing countries begin to do, knowing that we don't have access to as much finance as we would like?
Thank you very much, Ayo. You just gave a very, very precise summary of the event at stake. You see, for Nigeria, we have to reorder our priorities. Our priorities. Now, for COP29, I thought our going there was going to be engagement. But we have found peace with this very sweet word, MOU. MOU, what is MOU? MOU does not amount to anything. MOU does not amount to anything. And the side meeting for us should have been on two issues. Two issues, like you already pointed out. Agriculture and the extreme weather, including energy. Energy is our biggest problem here. It brings multi-dimensional poverty and everything. So those key issues. And we didn't need to have been in all the sidelines, no. And the fact that it was an environmental conference of party, no, it was basically an energy conference. Well, I would have loved to see the Minister of Power there, the Minister of Agriculture, high level, going there to negotiate. Going there to negotiate on behalf of Nigerians. The soundbite was that there was an MOU signed. No, MOU does not amount to any. As I'm here, I'm on MOU with you to do what Arise want me to do. It does not apply to anything. See, there's an area that we are neglecting in Nigeria, the debt for nation finance. What are we doing with that? What are we doing? Nations are looking at it substantially. We want to ramp up we want to wrap up 37 billion barrels of day and multiply that. Yes, the world, the wealthier nations are looking at a wealthier, vulnerable country so that they will be able to fight adaptation and mitigation. Those are the areas that our meta template should have engaged. And the last time, they said it was 600 people that went there. 600 people to do what? To do what? In the conference, some people were sending 50, some were sending 25. And what were they doing? Okay, assuming because of our problem, 600 people went there. When they came back, what have 600 people bring? To justify the amount of money that was spent in going there. There are a lot of things that Nigerian can canvas there. You have 854 kilometer shoreline. It's there. It's there. You have lithium, $1 trillion on tap. It's there. It's there. You have 4% of the untouched forest in the world. It's there. I didn't see that in our wish list. And for God's sake, as they were going, what was the wish list? Did you engage Nigerians? See, we have to listen to the people when they are talking, the people that are bearing the brunt. Allow them was just a dress rehearsal of the weather that is going to come. Now, the Conference of Parties might not have, live up to expectation, but it created a whole lot of things. 300 billion was a far cry. The world needs $26 trillion to fight environmental degradation and everything. And let me tell you, by 2022, $0.5 trillion was invested in renewable energy. Guess what? Only 1.5 came to Africa. But the World Bank is telling us now that, look, your population is going to increase from 1.4 billion to 2.5. And with that, your energy requirement is going to increase by 150 if your per capita income becomes $5,000. And that means your percolate to the air is going to increase by 30%. And our compressed natural gas now, science have shown, and there's a research that have shown that it is even 30% emission worse than coal. So you look at that. If we have to look at our energy poverty of 5 gigawatts, highest 5 gigawatts, and we are looking at 85 million people not having access to natural gas, I think would have been more pragmatic. The mindfulness at COP29 would have been more intentional than what we got from there.
Yeah. Good to hear you speak again. You see, but let me say in local parlance, AVM, all of this you are speaking is English. You know why I said so? Because we didn't even go to the conference with a climate envoy. Where is our climate envoy? Since our jury left that position, we've got no climate. Is it that they can't use people like you to do climate envoy? Is that what we are saying? So how are you going to have an agenda when you went to a place like that without a climate envoy? That's my number one point. My number 2 point is our delusion that we think the West that benefits more from this speculate matter and that emit more will come and solve the problem they are creating for us. Is that not complete delusion? The West that doesn't care about us. And that's why you saw the kind of deal they finally agreed and the paltry 300 billion they put down, which I even think was a miracle, if not because they were pushed and nudged. Thirdly, you just release the scientific data now. And this is also the role of science. Where are our own data scientists to be able to churn out data? Now you are telling us that the compressed natural gas or the gas that we are using as a transition energy has more emission than coal that we have abandoned in Enugu and the colliery mines long ago. Where are we going to develop our own scientific measures internally? Those are the 3 points I want to talk to you, sir. Why can't people like you be climate envoy? We went without a climate envoy, number 1 question.
Rufai, thank you so much. Maybe when I'm going, I will go with you. You see, the issue of climate envoy, we should not politicize everything and look at everything in the prism of politics. There are some areas that, look, you take politics out of it completely. Look at the US envoy that was there. They asked him, Donald Trump is the new president. What is he going to do with climate change? He said, no, there's very little he can do because all the renewable energy plants are in the Republican states. Is he going to remove them away? And I get so confused these days. Who is leading our climate? Is it the minister? Is it the National Commissioner for Climate Change? Is it the Director of Climate Change? It's a coterie of people. How do we have a punch? How are we going to have a punch to lead the climate change? Now, the 300 billion is paltry, very, very paltry. Now, don't forget, last year, Emmanuel Macron held a meeting and said that, look, when IMF and World Bank were all formed, the vulnerable countries, substantially Africa, were not independent at that time. So their input was very, very small. So he said, okay, we were going to rejuvenate these bodies and see, look, how are they going to finance you? The World Bank man was there and said, look, we have the money. How does the money speak to climate change now? How does it speak? If we have a budget of 48 trillion, okay, I read the other day, and you are going to have borrowing coming into it, and you are ramping up oil, which is already a headwind anyway, to 2.06, you should have look, we need this money to develop infrastructures to be able to go to the renewable energy. That should have been what would have been canvassing there, which is what Azerbaijan was canvassing. Next year, we are moving to Brazil. Brazil is already positioning itself. Brazil has 15.89 billion barrels of oil under the ground. Now, the question is, these countries that are having oil, their argument is that we need this oil to develop infrastructure because a wealthier, vulnerable country is better to develop mitigation and adaptation. That's that. What was your third question again?
My third question was about our own homegrown science. Why is it that everything we talk about is global scientists? When are we going to get scientists that work on climate change on the international scale and capacity from University of Lagos, University of Maiduguri, University of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife? Our homegrown science, injection into research here.
I can see the passion, Rufai, you are speaking about it. You see, you cannot force yourself into a house that the doors were not open. The climate ecosystem in Nigeria have to open up, like it's done elsewhere in the world. It's not a closed system. It is Nigerian money that is being spent. My tax money, your tax money that is being spent. Before you went to COP29, the Nigerians should have known, the people that is being hit worst should have known that, look, this is what we are taking there. They say, no, this is not our priority. And now, it is not that there are no scientific data, but who do you pass it to? If you say you want to pass it to, if you don't, they are not interested in that. People are organizing seminars all over the place. But when you invite these people from the government, they don't show up. You wonder what direction are you looking at? Is it not a Nigerian situation that we're all looking at to make it better? Of course, that is the situation. You see, there are so many data outside. Let me tell you, after the 2022 flooding, we did a research to say that for 10 years, you are going to need 3%, that is about $3 billion, to be able to bring back what the flooding of 2022 did. And we also warn that if you don't do anything, going forward for 2022, you are going to have more extreme weather, more devastating condition and all. Nobody looked at it. I give you another example. Just this one, just by the sideline. Some people from the ministry came to discuss this Coast Guard. I told them that is not the priority for now. How do we deal with the cabotage? Cabotage that is the hand of foreigners. How do we deal with the bunker? How do ship bunker in Nigeria? How do they dock here? Those are the priority. The fish here, how do we salvage the billions of dollars to bring in? But nobody is interested in that. So, you see, it's not that there are no data, but how do the people use the actionable data? That is all. That is there, yeah.
Okay, AVM, just as a follow-up. If I may play the devil's advocate, President Tinubu has a body called the National Council on Climate Change, and he appointed Dr. Nkiruka Madueke as the Director General. And it was Dr. Madueke that led the Nigerian team to Baku, Azerbaijan. And she was the one that made the statement that Nigeria does not accept the outcome of that meeting because the finance goal that was pushed through was unrealistic in our view. So that's that about what government is doing. But as to the real issue here is, what is your assessment of the Nigerian government's efforts? Because, you know, the state parties that are involved in this COP this, COP that, they also have responsibilities. You've just cited the example of Tuvalu that has tried to preserve its history. Was it another country that you mentioned? You know, those countries that are threatened that face essential threat in the Pacific Islands. Now, do you think Nigeria is, in terms of action, playing its own part, beyond talking about CNG, compressed natural gas, conversion kits, and as if conversion kits for vehicles would immediately guarantee clean energy?
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your insight in the matter. You see, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is available to everybody. The UN Secretary General has said, look, by 2027, all parts of the world will have an early warning system. What we are facing here is almost an existential threat. We are not in the equator, we're above the equator, but the extreme weather have pushed so much water into the equator. That is why most of the time you have longer days than night. So what are you doing? You have inverse geomorphology now. What does that mean? The water is supposed to start from the hinterland, from the riverine area and go up. No, you have it now, study over there and come back. You see, the science ministry, the water ministry are supposed to be on top of this. Water movement across the world is not hidden. It's not hidden. And if we take out our albatross, the Largo Dam, what are we doing about the mega dams? In 2020, my suggestion suggested we need at least 4 mega dams. 4 mega dams, one on Benue, one on the Niger, to take the water, because a lot of things are going on in the water now. If you have your energy from the water being 30%, you can shore it up. You can shore it up. Water, a generation of energy from water is not, it does not emit carbon into the air. Very, 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 very infinitesimal. So what we're now going to do is that our policy for climate change should be known to everybody. Should be known to everybody. Well, the NCC woman did her best, but before you start, that was the general assertion of everybody. We reject. Of course, she couldn't have said she accepted on what ground. But my question is, what did Nigeria take there? We had 2 headwinds, like I said before: energy poverty and the compressed natural gas. We are ramming up our crude oil to 2.09. The argument should have been that we need this money to develop infrastructure so that we can be on sustainable path for the renewable energy. That's argument, and that's what the world will buy. Now, the Association of Island States, 39 of them, they were saying that, look, we need at least 1.3 trillion. That's a far cry anyway. A far cry between now and 2035. If the Paris Agreement is very, very substantial, what is Nigeria? How is Nigeria keen in? Like I said earlier, there is debt for nature finance, debt for nature swap. There's climate financing. There's a whole lot of area that will get our money for. When they come back now, we should have been seeing that in the face of all this disappointment or whatever, this is what we got for Nigeria.
Well,
that's what we should be hearing now.
Thank you very much, AVM Iyamu, for joining us to review COP29, just concluded in Baku, Afghanistan.